Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Pit and Table Chat Show. It's like season 5, episode 12, or something crazy like that. Nearly a whole year of doing these chat shows every Wednesday and Sunday, with just a few missed in between. It's gone pretty well, but yeah, we're nearly at a year. When we do hit that year, which is something like the 23rd of this month, I believe 2 weeks today, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So make sure you're tuning in for that stream as well. There's going to be a few cool things, including a Polyrachus dive screen that we're going to be giving away on that night on the stream. So follow it and check it out. I am currently eating some amazing pate and amazing cheese. Now, I'm pretty sure at least 90% of the world is like me and they love cheese. Cheese is like one of the best things ever invented since food first started being invented. And I know that sounds silly, but you know what I mean? You had to kind of come up with these foods. They weren't just ready there, were they? Now, cheese, amazing. And my next door neighbor has given me some cheese. Now, the only problem is, if you know me well, you know I can't handle spicy food. It's got like chili in the cheese, so it's like it's killing me trying to eat it, but it's absolutely amazing. And the pate as well, homemade pate. Wow, really good stuff. I love that kind of food always. I like cheese and pate, you know. And it's good. So I'm sat here with my cheese and pate to the side of me, and you might hear me eat occasionally, but I'll try and not eat whilst we're streaming. Oh dear, but no promises, you know how it is. So what is everyone up to? Has everyone had a lovely week? I've had an absolutely spectacular time lately. A couple of days ago, I decided to go out for a little venture. Now, you might have seen some of the videos on the channel. I've absolutely flooded my channel because I took like 3 hours of footage or something stupid like that whilst I was there. I went to my local aquatic shop. Now, I don't call it just a normal fish shop because it is not a normal fish shop. Jurassic Aquatics on Portland. They have some absolutely amazing stuff in there. They had like a puffer fish and lionfish and all of that, but they also have like anemones and different sponges and all of the cool corals growing as well, which I found absolutely fascinating. And talking to the owner was like, it was really interesting how it's all done and about the living rock. Did you know living rock, you're not actually allowed to go and collect living rock anymore? A few years ago you could go and get it out of the sea. Now you're literally not allowed because it's all protected, which is brilliant. But it does mean that if you're setting up a bioactive aquarium, it can be quite difficult to get those initial nitrates and nutrients that you need in the tank. But he's got a massive stock of living, which he does sell. He got it from, he was telling me he cleared out some other massive aquariums and he got to keep all of the living rock from it. So absolutely amazing, because I say it's hard to get hold of. And in there was like this little clownfish. Well, I say little clownfish, it was actually a massive clownfish. It was black and white and looked very cool, but apparently it's just lived in this like living rock tank basically, and he can't get it. Every time he gets near to it, it just like zips under the rocks and he can't get it out, so that's where it lives. But yeah, just seeing those, like I say, I'm not that knowledgeable on sea sponges and things, but seeing the different corals and the different sponges, all of that, wow, like the colors on them as well. When you shine your UV on them, they all show up in different cool colors. You know what it's like, a bit like a scorpion. Really, really cool. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, loads of footage of that. I've done loads of shorts and loads more shorts coming out as well, but there will be a full-length video as well with a little interview in it with the owner, telling us all about his hobby and how he got into it, really. So that's definitely worth a watch if you're going to be watching that video. You know what I mean? Stay till the end because of the interview bits at the end. But seriously, that was a really cool shop. Let's say they had like stuff that I've never seen before. So I've seen puffer fish on telly and stuff, but I've never actually seen a puffer fish in the flesh. It didn't puff up. We weren't treated to the full size expand of doom or whatever, but it was floating about. Now they are quite ugly puffer fish. I will say they're not like the most beautiful looking fish out of the whole shop. It wasn't the most eye catching, but it's a puffer fish. They're super cool. Now, I don't know about fish, and I definitely don't know if there's lots of different breeds of puffer fish. But from what I know, they are the most poisonous fish in the world, aren't they? Now, not venomous, like they can't hurt us unless they catch us with a spike, possibly. But if you're going to eat it, like it's the most poisonous to eat, and only certain parts of it are supposed to be eaten. There's a big episode about it on The Simpsons, and you're not supposed to eat certain parts of the fish, basically. Like I say, I am not an expert, and I'm not was it a sushi chef? I almost couldn't say that. Sushi chef. Yeah, that's a hard one for me. But yeah, pufferfish, super cool. Also in there was a lionfish. Now again, I haven't seen lionfish out in the flesh before. They are big, like big, impressive things, and they got all these weird, like I wouldn't want to say tentacles, but they're not tentacles. They're like, I don't know, they're just bits that kind of come off its face and everything. It looks very cool. I suppose that's why it's called a lionfish, because it kind of looks like a mane. I don't know. Yeah, I expect that's it. Anyways, Jurassic Aquatics on Portland. If you come into Portland or in the local area, I'll read that in 2 seconds, Antisocial. 1 second. And thank you for coming into stream, buddy. I haven't spoken to you in ages, and I need to. So 2 seconds. Yeah. Right, whatever. Right, so Antisocial says pufferfish give off toxins that are addictive to other fish. That's interesting. So what it like becomes like addictive. So they come towards the pufferfish, or they get attracted towards the pufferfish, I suppose. I don't know. I have to go into detail a bit more there, buddy. That's really interesting. And again, thank you for coming back on. You've been busy with, I know that feeling. I just wanted to say, sorry I didn't have much time to stop and talk to you at the exhibition. I really wanted to have a better conversation with you, basically, spend a bit more time, like getting to know you. But I just, as you know, things were a bit hectic on the day. But yeah, I do apologize for not spending a bit more time with you, buddy. It's like a drug. Okay, so that is interesting. So like I say, they become addicted to it, they start chasing it. Do puffer fish, are they like, do they eat other fish, or do they eat crustaceans and algae and stuff? Again, I really know nothing about fish. That's why this was such an interesting trip for me, because everything was just like, well, I didn't know that, and I didn't know that. I think it's really important to kind of go out of one's, not comfort zone, but you know what I mean, one's own area of expertise. Try out new things, have a look around. I say it's just a shop. It wasn't like a showroom or aquarium. It's just a shop, but absolutely amazing. There's my daughter running about like a little nutter. She is still running about. Her talking's doing really well, by the way. So if anyone's interested, she's like blowing our mind on a daily basis with her talking. So yeah, other fish that were there. There was one fish that every time I went to film the fish next to it, it would come get in the way. And I was talking to him, and he said they do definitely have personalities. Some of them will hide, some of them are really forthcoming, and this one was an absolute camera lover. I was about a different word, but I changed the sentence, thank God. Yeah, everywhere I pointed the camera, he was there, and I mean, it was a stunning fish, but I was trying to get the one next to him. Slightly annoying, but whatever. And some of the, what do we call them, critters, I think. Have you ever seen a boxing shrimp and things like that? Now, shrimps are super cool, and there's all sorts of different species of shrimp again, and it gets very confusing when you get really into the taxidermy of it, if that's the right terminology to use. Like some shrimps are shrimps, and some shrimps aren't actually shrimps, and other shrimps that you think are not shrimps are shrimps. And it's all sorts of weirdness going on when you really get into the deep depths of it. But we were, for tonight's purpose, shrimp is shrimp. Boxing shrimp, super cool. They got these big old hands that they're there for boxing, I suppose. Yeah, they're super cool. And then there was I want to say banana shrimp, but it wasn't. It was a mantis shrimp, I believe. And from what I know, they're the largest of the shrimp species and also very deadly. But I can't remember how. But yeah, I like I say, I really enjoyed my trip over to Jurassic Aquatics. Now I'm hoping they're gonna have not just the shop, but the display at the Weymouth event as well. Like I say, the Weymouth event isn't an ant event. The Weymouth event is just an event for sort of local talents, local shops like that, anything that's natural and whatnot in my local area, because the Jurassic Coast is such a stunning, beautiful area full of all sorts of different environments and different insects, which some of them are quite rare and special to our area, you know. So I want to showcase all of that. So that's what's happening at the Weymouth event. And I'm really hoping they'll come over with one of their exhibit tanks and not just their shop, because I think it's really cool. Really cool. Cleaner shrimp are fun. Put your hand in and right. So what it reminded me of is, you know, in Finding Nemo, there's that shrimp, and what's he do? He's like bubbles, bubble, 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 bubble. That's what it made me think of. Yeah. Anyone else get that kind of notion? But yeah, so I didn't realize they'd actually clean your hands and fingers. I suppose you'd have to be quite still, but are they timid? You know, will they run away and then they come back? I suppose most fish, I tend to find, if you put your hand in, they will scatter. But I don't know. I think I'm kind of learning that's not always true. It's just kind of the way goldfish are. But even they come back once they see you got food. I think once they start associating with you with food, it changes. Everything changes when food comes into the mix, doesn't it? Very tame. See, that's quite cool actually. I like things like that because, like I say, things that are going to be interactive. That's really cool, and you don't get that with ants. Shrimp. They're working their way up my list. The wife's looking at me like, oh no, not another animal. Good evening, Dawn. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, I am looking at aquatic animals. I'm not going to jump in the deep end and go like crazy or anything, but I don't know, little shrimp of some description be quite cool. I've got vampire crabs, so why not the vampire crabs? So moving on, like we'll move on and talk about the big massive ants in front of you in the tank that they're currently housed in. Um, it's a bit of a nightmare. They're just everywhere. Like what you can or can't see, I don't know what the quality like at the minute, but what's on the screen is not even a small portion of the ants in the tank. It is absolutely crazy. Everywhere you look, there's ants. On every stick, there's ants. On every leaf, there's ants. Everywhere there is ants. Like, I thought there was a lot before. Either they've just been hiding or we've just had like another 1,000 or so hatch at roughly the same time. It's just absolutely crazy. And don't forget, I have just pulled out. Well, I've got 9 queens on the shelf behind me right now. So I've got 9 fertile Polyrhacus dive queens from the nest, and I know there's at least 5 or 6 more that have gone in, and I haven't been able to get to them. You know what I mean? They've just gone straight back into the nest. So I have got a few out, and like I say, I'll be doing a giveaway with them on the 23rd of this month in one of these streams, so make sure you're tuned in for that one. But they will be making their way onto the shop roughly the same time as well. Yeah, so they're sort of like there's ants everywhere. They're feeding like absolute beasts. This big test tube, this isn't one of the small test tubes that I would stick a queen in. This is a massive test tube, right? And it goes back like a long way. I absolutely filled it to the cotton wool just a day or so ago. I think it was a day ago, and it's literally about a third empty already. They are smashing it in. And smashing in the protein, which isn't bad, but it's a bit kind of like, right, so if I wanted to slow down their growth, I would essentially try and restrict their protein intake. I don't think that's really possible because they're just going to kill everything else if I do that. So I'm having to maintain their feedings. Good evening, Dino. Thank you for joining us, buddy. Oh, it's really nice to have all my moderators back as well. Thank you, Katrina and Dino. Welcome back from your little breaks, both of you. I hope you're both doing well. And we should join in, we should have our conversation at some point on our group chat just to say hello to everyone, and do a few updates. I've got lots to tell you, peoples. Now, what was I saying? That's it. So the tank, we're gonna. I have mentioned it a few times now, but I'll say it again because it's my grand plan. So I'm going to be getting. I've got another big tank. It's like another 4-foot tank, 3-foot tank, 3.5, maybe. I don't know. It's close to 4 foot, right? We're going to slap him next to it, and we're going to make him all bioactive and cool. And we're going to take the crabs in the pond out of this tank and move it into the second tank so that they've just got a bit more breathing space away from the main nesting area. Then I'm going to get like one of those bendy branch things and whack it between so that they can go between the two tanks. It's going to be super cool. In fact, it's going to be really, really cool, and I'm super excited about it. So yeah, that's sort of the plan. And like I say, it will give this tank, it will give the ants this tank completely to themselves. Basically, they can just expand till they can't expand anymore or whatever. The crabs won't be decimated when they get to the higher numbers, which I expect will happen before long, because like I say, the pond is covered in ants. Although the crabs can find refuge in the water, in their caves, stuff like that, I do feel they're getting a little bit overcrowded now, and I will be looking, like I say, to move them fairly soon. And then it's going to be pretty cool as well. I've got a really cool design in my head what I want it to look like, and then having the two tanks and the ants running between is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm going to have great fun with it, and I can't wait to film it and show you all what I've had in my brain. What else is going on? So it's the only way to explain it is madness in there. I'll just have a quick look now. See, we are still finding the odd one or two. Dean, I haven't yet, but I do seem to have a massive following base there, don't I? It's amusing to a point. But yeah, so the stick scaffolding that I've put out in front, they are kind of starting to nest within it, but they haven't really moved on to the front of it like I was hoping to. They started really going to the super highway to the side of it that we put in months and months ago. So that's starting to become part of the nest now. That's the way it is. Like I say, we're going to give that whole tank to them. We're going to fill in the pond. We're going to move the pond, which isn't going to be easy because somehow I got to get in there with like gloves on and stuff, and try and remove the rocks without hurting the crabs, without getting bitten too much or the ants like escaping up my arms. God, there's quite like the caves that they've dug. I've seen, and they go like halfway under the tank, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to tackle that. They've dug into the drainage layer, and as we know, because we saw a while back that they were bringing the gravel out from the drainage layer, so it's a little bit, it's going to be a challenge to get the pond out with all the crabs safely, but it's going to be doable. We are going to do it, we are going to do it. And go in the other. Oh, that beetle just got a, oh no, he did. I was going to say that beetle got a waxworm and went to run, but the ants just absolutely had him there. Not a chance, mate. Don't forget, I do feed all around the tank. It's not just like this is the only place there's food. So he can just go off and get food where there's not quite a mass of ants. But I don't know, they're just there. The beetles do tend to bite a lot of the dry wood, not the rotten wood, but the dry wood of the super highway. I've noticed there is like gnaw marks coming out of it. You know what I mean? So they've almost chewed through in some places. I'm kind of hoping that they don't. Again, I'll be moving the majority of those beetles into the other tank when it's done, but they're climbing at it. It wouldn't surprise me if they start climbing their way back, because that's where they know, that's their territory. So it won't surprise me. But I did notice the other day that the ants were starting to boot them out of their like hiding spot. They've got a log right at the back in the corner that they all love to live on, but the ants started to like kick them off of it. Now, like I say, the ants are expanding at a phenomenal rate right now, not just population wise, but nest wise as well. It's every day I am seeing new layers on the nest, new parts of the nest coming up. It's a really exciting time, really nervous and kind of nerve wracking because we're all kind of watching it like, when's it going to slow down? And well, we've just had a nuptial flight, so there's no chance of it slowing down now. If anything, it's going to speed up. So yeah, that's the time to kick into action, I think, and start planning that expansion tank. Thank you very much for mentioning that, Dean. Yeah, if everyone wants to put a like on the video, that's always much appreciated. It helps the channel out massively, as you all know. We are heading towards getting that like 1,000 subscribers. When we hit that mark, I think we're going to do a really, really big giveaway because it's sort of been a long time coming, hasn't it? But we are getting there. I think we've gained like 25 since this time last week, something like that, which isn't a bad count, really. We do have some awesome videos coming out as well. Like I say, I've been working quite hard on getting the editing right and just making a good comeback on the video front. So we've got the Jurassic Aquatics video coming out. We've got a few other videos coming out. And we're bringing back the Ants on the Rock review series as well, because I really enjoyed doing those reviews of other people's ant videos and terrarium videos. And to be honest, I've got quite a few awesome contacts now which would love for me to do a review on their videos. So we are bringing back that series as well. Those come out on Mondays. So you will soon have us Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays once again, with shorts pretty much on every day as well. So plenty and plenty of content. I think we're heading towards like 350, maybe even 400 videos on the channel now. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It just happens, doesn't it? If I see something cool, boom, you get a video. Which brings me to my next point, actually. I have got some really cool, tiny little glass pots. Now, I say small, like tiny. They are like, you could fit a battery in them, basically. They're about battery size. And they're really cool little pots. So I'm going to be doing some nice little terrariums with them. I went out hunting for some moss earlier, actually. And believe it or not, Portland is rubbish for moss. There is, I would nearly swore, there's very little moss here. I managed to find a bit on the roadside, but like, because we're so exposed out here, we don't get much tree growth. Most trees tend to get killed off as saplings during the winter. So we don't have a lot of trees, don't have a lot of cover, which means we don't have many sort of dark, damp areas where moss will thrive. We don't have any forested areas on the island. We've literally got a couple of patches of trees, but they're not like, it's just trees and brambles, basically. There's no moss. It's really annoying. But I did manage to find some really nice, stunning green moss, actually. So you're going to have to wait and see. But it is actually really beautiful, pretty moss. I was quite impressed with. So I managed to get a load of that. And that's going to be used in some of those little terrariums. But I just thought, those little glass pots, they need something special now, because it's not going to be like a big masterpiece. You can't put like a mountain in the middle and decorate the mountain. It is literally, you need to make something cool out of something really small. So it's a bit of a challenge for me as such. Not a challenge, but it's just a bit something different rather than having like a 4-foot tank to play with, which I do love as well. I know. We will obviously be doing our big bioactive demonstration at the Sheffield show. That's going to be absolutely amazing as well. I've already seen some pictures of how the stage is going to be put together, and like, the stage area is going to be put together, and how the room's going to look like. We've had some visuals come in already, and it looks absolutely amazing. I cannot drop much more information than that, but let's just say we are well ahead of where I could have ever imagined to be for this show at this point in time. It's looking amazing. It is absolutely packed out with vendors. and speakers and so on. Like, we got some really cool names there. They will all be doing their own advertising and releasing information when they feel like it's time to, normally after they've done like another show or whatever, because lots of these big shops go to show after show after show, so they release the information as and when it becomes relevant, which is completely fine. I'm not going to be posting any of the names until really, really close to the show date, like really, really close. Not going to be posting any of the vendor names, the trader names. Probably not going to post any of the lecturers or so on either. You're just going to have to come to the show and see what's going on. But I will promise you it's going to be another amazing day. On that front, like I say, we are planning 3 shows next year. We're doing Sheffield and Bristol as the Great Ant exhibitions. They are going to be the big ant shows that we love. And then we do have the Weymouth show, which is a local event designed for localers, not necessarily just ant enthusiasts, because it's just going to be me there as ants, but it's just going to be lots of the local sort of talents and amazingness that I want to showcase. I keep going on about it, but I'm excited about both events separately because they're 2 very different things, but they're going to be great for me. I absolutely love doing this. Thank you very much for saying that, Dawn. Yeah, Sheffield is going to be spectacular. Bristol, oh wow! So Bristol is already coming together as well. Again, although we didn't have a massive, we didn't have loads and loads of people come to the Bristol show, word has got out about how good it was, not just as a trader event, because the traders all really enjoyed themselves. They all made a lot of money as well, which is always great. But they just enjoyed the day, because like I say, I don't want it to just be a trade event. I want it to be, love of the hobby. I want there to be all the lecturers and the different people to meet and this and that and all the different things going on, which is more important to me than the trade section altogether. So we got really amazing feedback with that, and we've already started taking bookings for the Bristol event, which is super cool, because I wasn't considering even starting work on that until like after Sheffield event at least. But yeah, so nearly a year ahead, and wow, we're doing well. I'm enjoying it, and they say Ant Exhibition UK seems to be taking off in ways that I'm happy about, unexpected ways. Yeah, I that's it. I didn't even have the store. I didn't even bring any stock or anything to the show in Bristol. I just wanted to make the most of the day for everyone. It's not about money. As we all know, for me, it's definitely not about money. I don't know how much money we lose on these shows. I couldn't care less. It's more about having it there and doing it for the community. Oh, creepy. There's loads of big things happening at the minute, as you know, some yourself. I've got all sorts of plans in action at the moment. Plans and what do they call them? I can't. There's another word that I was going to use that would have sounded really cool, but I'm just going to say plans and more plans. Objectives, that's it. We've got plans and objectives that we're going to be tackling, as you all know. Some of you know more than others know, but we've got all sorts going on, and it's blowing my mind out of the water because, yeah, I can't go into too much detail, as you all know, but big things happening. Give it a month. This time next month, things will be very different, I think. The vendors said that they had a great experience at the show, and it gives others the chance to showcase their stuff where others would just do it for themselves. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I loved having Baz there, Baz Ants. Like, that was the first time he had really got out to sell his shop. You know what I mean? Sell himself as a shop. Not just selling stuff, but you know what I mean. And I think it's done amazingly well for Baz. He's not just the contacts and things like that, but the confidence of saying, yeah, I was there, I'm a shop, like, this is what I do. And I was really glad to have him there, and I think it made a big impact to the show having him there as well. And Baz is absolutely fantastic. We all know, like, he's hung about since the last show and become a massive part of the community as well, which is really cool. It's just what we want, really. It's exactly what we want. It's what everyone Just we should just be like one big community. But anyways, so other things I have going on at the moment. The ones that I can never pronounce the name of, my tetramonium bees by what that one, tet bees. So I'm really tempted to get one of those T-shaped formicariums where they can dig their own nest. Now they expand. Everyone who has them, as you know, they expand like mad things. Like I've now got 2.5 test tubes full, I think, and they just keep going. So I think, yeah, thank you, Dino, thank you. I just can't pronounce it. I just can't. Some things just don't work with my mouth and my brain, and that's one of them. So yeah, I'd love to get them a nest where they can dig their own nest and just watch the rate of it expanding. Like you'll be, yeah, because I've got that with my Lasius niger colony, and to be honest, I thought they might be on their way out. So if they are on their way out, I'll probably just clean it out, put some fresh sand in, and move the tet bees into that one. But yeah, like I found it so cool watching the Lasius niger dig all their tunnels originally. Now, again, like I say, they have stopped digging; they're not expanding anymore. Most of their chambers are actually fairly empty, but down the bottom of the nest, it's still fairly packed, and on the surface, well, they still eat loads, they still drink loads, and it's not like their numbers are diminishing, but there is visibly less ants within the nest, and I actually still can't see any brood or larvae knocking about, so that's a little bit concerning. I have tried to spot the queen to no avail as well, so it might be a bad situation for that colony, but there's no way of really knowing until they all die out, I suppose. But yeah, so I'm thinking of getting one of those so that my tet bees can dig their own nest. They expand so fast, though, I'd have to be really on top of it, giving them extra space to dig into, because once they run out of room, they'll instantly go looking. And to be honest, they're not the most secure nests. The lid that came with it warped within 2 or 3 days of me having it. Without any kind of heat contact or anything, it literally just in my room, and it just warped. And it's like, well, that's a load of rubbish. And then from that, it's got one of those annoying rims. Like the only thing I can liken it to is the Venus nest. You've kind of got to get you got to get your finger in under the rim to sort of do the barrier. It's like that. It's got like that rim that you've got to get your fingers in, and it's really annoying. I hate things like that. If it's gonna be open, just leave it open. Don't put this like overhanging ledge sort of thing, because my fingers are too fat that one, I struggle to get my hands in the hole in the first place, and two, I just struggle to whip it. Don't just leave it open. If the top's open, just leave it open. You know what I mean? That's sort of my opinion on it. Anyways, I struggle with these overhanging ledge sort of things because they're just impossible for big fingers. What was that? Local? I'm skipping that one. So I have got something I cannot even read. I was writing my little notes earlier of things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I've written it so fast that I can't actually remember what it says, and I can't read it. So we're just going to do that one. Whoops. My Mario worm situation. Now, I saw this come up in the chat on Discord. I'm just going to drink my coffee for 2 seconds. Thanks for joining, Karen. Good night. Dawn, what bugs have you got? If you're a new bug mum, we need to know what you've got and why you fell in love with it. So my Mario worm situation, I saw this in the Discord earlier. Someone wanted to know how easy it is to breed Mario worms. Now, I'm going to tell you, it is super, super, super easy. All you need to do is go and get your first Mario worms, basically. Go and put them in, like, there's several ways to do it. You can separate them and they'll pupate really fast. If you separate them and put them in the dark, people say because it keeps them calm, they'll pupate naturally. If you put them in the light, because it stresses them out, they'll pupate a little bit faster. I don't know. I don't actually use that technique. I chuck them straight into a bioactive situation. All I've got is one of those large Best Dance UK outworlds. I've cotton wooled both ends so that they can't get out the holes. Half filled it with soil, chucked in my soil and sphagnum and a few other things, loads of springtails as well. Chucked in like 4 or 5 of those worms to start with. They'll rotate round and grow out into beetles. They grow into beetles, they'll start laying eggs like absolute mad things. Like they are everywhere. Like once they start going, they lay a lot of eggs. Literally just keep adding food into the outworld situation, like you're feeding the beetles. Eventually you'll start getting the Mario worms start popping up and eating some as well. And I'd good sort of time moved them to a second outworld of the same description. So half soil again, take the beetles out, chuck them into this new outworld. Then continue feeding both outworlds as you would normally. And this just means that you're feeding the Mario worms in one, you're feeding the beetles in the other. Give it a few weeks or even a month of feeding the Mario worms, then sieve them out. Chuck all that substrate through a sieve them out. They should be a fairly good size by that time, and then you can use them for whatever you want. I quite often just freeze them and just use them as and when I need to. But whatever, I just don't like keeping loads of them about, to be honest. I've got huge amounts of Mario worms knocking about. So yeah, do that. Like I say, keep them rotating, and then once you've got fresh substrate again and you've sieved it through, chuck it back box and put your balls back into that one when it's time to, and then just keep it going. 2 boxes works really well, but you kind of have to be on top of it. 3 boxes is even better because it just gives you a bit more time to let those Mario worms grow before you try sieving them, because unless you've got quite a fine sieve, you're either gonna, like, if you've got too fine a sieve, the dirt's not going to go through, and if your sieve's too, the holes are too large, then the Mario worms fall through. So you kind of got to get them at the right time. Or you could just sit there and try and pick them out, but that's going to take a long, long time. Well, I have done it before myself. But yes, so if you don't remove the beetles in time, the Mario worms will eat them. They are brutal. They will cannibalize absolutely anything in there. They non-stop eating machines. Get those beetles out before that situation happens. If you follow all of that, you got it easy, basically, and they'll produce a fair few. Like 4 or 5 beetles will easily produce close to 100 Mario worms, I'd say. It's quite productive. Right, so now I'm just going to read back these comments. Let's just sit down. What Mario Booty did? They are animals, pun intended. What about Mantis? Apparently keeping Mario's with Dubia is good. Well, mealworms anyways. Okay. See, now, Katrina, that's an interesting conversation to have. Mealworms and Mario worms, honestly, I think keeping them with anything is very dangerous, especially anything that molts. The minute they're molting, they are soft, easy prey. Not just that, they look the part as well. They're giving off those soft kind of vibes, you know what I mean? Giving off those soft sort of vibes, and I think they even give off a slightly different smell when they are, what's the word, molten and blombable as such. They definitely attracted the predators. So I'm just saying, like, although you could, it's probably more risky than you realise, you know what I mean? They will just eat everything. They will. Really nightmarish. But yeah, dubias do molt and they tend to burrow as well. So you know what I mean? You're just you're putting it straight into their mouths. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah, Dawn, I think you gotta get an ant colony next because, like, you've been outvoted. Or a couple with giant cave roaches. Giant cave roaches, they're awesome. If you are going to get them, I would suggest, and I'm going to butcher the name, Aquatica, whatever. The ones that come to our shows, they are absolutely brilliant, and that's where I got my cave roaches from. Really nice people, really helpful as well. I've messaged them a few times just to ask for some things, and they've always been really forthcoming with help. So I would highly recommend going to them. And it's always good to recommend someone who I would use myself, or have used. The, looking at getting other things, so definitely consider it. What did Dean suggest? I've missed that. Oh, Mantis. Okay, Mantis are really cool. Manny the Mantis. To be fair, he's been staring at us pretty much all day. I don't know what he's got on his mind, but maybe he's hungry. I'll try feeding him. He's got really weird appetite. Sometimes he'll eat 3 days in a row. Sometimes he'll eat for a week. But it's like, whatever, man, as long as you're happy. He loves having a drink, though. You spray him any time, you can guarantee he'll come out and have a drink, even if he's just had a drink. Now, like I said, I am going to be not expanding his enclosure, but expanding the insides, like the stuff he's got in his enclosure. Because at the moment, it's all sort of it goes up to about 1/3 of the height of the enclosure. Now, the enclosure is netted and he can walk about it and climb and do whatever he wants to do. But when he came to me so small, I didn't want to fill the enclosure because I never would have been able to see him. Now he is full size with his big old majestic wings and whatnot. I think it is about to. I'll probably rip all of that word out and just put something new in completely, to be honest, rather than trying to expand on what I've already got in there, which was my original plan. But I think if I just get something, I don't know, something big and gnarly, it would be much better. I still need to have good access to him because I do take him with me to workshops and the shows that we go to. I have got one this week actually, so he'll be coming along to that. We take him in his little travel case, and we even have a travel enclosure that we set up for him at every event, and he pops out into that. Sometimes I don't even shut the door. He's so well behaved, he'll just sit there and watch everyone walking past. As long as I've got my sign up saying "do touch," because I don't want him getting on anyone and jumping about and getting lost or whatnot. But he does quite happily just sit there watching the world go past. As you know, mantis are highly intelligent, and they are the only insect that can turn their head. Everything else has to turn its body. Mantis can actually turn their head on a pivot, which I thought was really super cool and interesting. But again, super, super smart insects. They will follow you around the room. I'm just going to cough 1 second. They will follow you around the room with heads, and they'll follow you around the room with their bodies as well. They're so intelligent and very intuitive. And when they get used to you, they don't mind a bit handling. Now, Manny, he doesn't mind being handled. He'd much prefer to sit there doing nothing. We handle him occasionally, but within a few minutes, you can tell he's sort of eager to get back. And the minute you go near to his enclosure, he will jump straight back and just sit where he was, or he's a very chilled mantis. I think he's a bit like me, just doesn't really want to do much, just sit there and do his thing. Done all those years of athleticness, it's taking its toll on me. I need to sit down a bit more now. So who here has a tarantula? Who wants to talk about tarantulas for a minute? Mr. T's really annoying. Did anyone see the little video that I released a few days ago? He's decided to build himself a new part of the web. Now, can anyone guess? Now, it is in the video, so if you saw the video, you've got it already. But can anyone guess in the comments where he's built his new part of the web? Okay, I'm just going to spoil that. So he's built it on the front door. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Dee. On the bloody door. Out of everywhere in that enclosure, the enclosure that's like probably 100 times the size of him, and he builds it on the door. Now, you tarantula experts are going to have to advise me on this. Do they? Because he didn't build any new. Your missus has about 30 tarantulas. Wow, that's quite impressive, antisocial. Um, he didn't build a new part of his web for quite a while, right? Now, I assumed that's because he had built a good size for his body size. The fact that he is now expanding his web, should I expect him to molt and grow? Thank you, Dean. That's very kind of you. Um, you know what I mean? Is that meaning that he's getting ready to grow and he needs some more space? Or does it mean that his old part of his web is become dirty? Or because there is a waxworm left in it that he's kind of eaten and left there to dry up and whatever. So does it mean that he's abandoning that other part? Do I need to at some point remove old webbing? This is again stuff that I need to find out about tarantulas. I'm not that knowledgeable on them yet, as you know. I love them and I know what I need to do to look after them, but I don't know those extra bits yet. Not necessary. Okay, so he could just be building it just to be annoying and get in the front door. Remove old food. Now, how do I do that? Like, I know that sounds stupid, but literally, you know what a funnel web's like, and it's like it's round the corner, if you know what I mean. The entrance is like at an angle that I can't seem to get my tweezers into. I have tried to move one or two bits. In fact, I did remove the other one eventually, but it was a bit kind of I didn't want to destroy the webbing at the same time. Okay, I'll give it a go, Dean. I'll see what I can do, and if I get stuck, I'll send a video so you can sort of see. Don't worry about. Okay. See, I always kind of, I don't know. Watching him do the web makes me assume it's sort of like, don't break the web. I don't know. I I don't know. But if you're saying just do it, all right, I'll do it. I'll just crack on with it. Man up and do it. But yeah, so that was slightly annoying. His colouring, his coloration is like really cool. We put a spring to okay, that's a good idea. I haven't got any kind of well, there will be some springtails in because all my soil has springtails, but I haven't added any extra cleanup crew to his enclosure. See, I was really hoping he would expand along the branches because the branches are just sort of like really cool and nice. When that's all covered up, it's going to look brilliant. Like, probably for next year's Halloween, he's going to make a great sort of attraction enclosure, you know. But for now, it's sort of like, But yeah, anyways, his colouring, he's become way more blue and much more shiny lately as well. Everyone's noticed it. No, I don't know why. It might just be he's using a new shampoo, conditioner, whatever makes your hair shiny. I don't know. I'm not a hair nutritionist. Um, Keela, are you listening? I can. My eldest just giggled at exactly that point, so she might. She's out there listening. Also, it's 10 to 10 on a school night. You make me look like a bad parent. I have told her to go to bed, just so everyone knows. Oh, okay, right. Anyways, I'm not having a conversation off stream while streaming because that's just craziness. Oh dear. I want you in bed before 10 o'clock. Balfour's. I'm probably butchering that name. I'm guessing that's a type of tarantula. Again, I'm not that great with all the names of tarantulas. I normally have to look them up when people are mentioning certain things because I just don't have much of a clue with tarantulas. They've got so many names and there's so many different variations, much like ants. It takes a bit of learning behind it, doesn't it? M. Balfour. Now, are they New World or Old World? Tell me a little bit about them because I haven't got a clue. My one is New World, is it not? One of communal. Wow. Communal tarantulas. How would you like that, wife? Communal tarantulas. Like, we could have like 20 of them. No? No, she's just shaking her head at me. Yeah, I love communal things like that. You know I do. I was looking at communal mantises before we got Manny, just because of the size of the enclosure. I want to say old, got a big tank of like 60. Oh, wow, 16 of them. That's quite. Are they like skittish but can be aggy? So let me say, having that many, like, do they fight amongst themselves for food? How do you feed? I'm guessing you feed them individually, or do you just chuck it all in and let them? I don't know. Heavy weather. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. So loads of. Oh wow. So what they would be like is like the spiders in Dave's Little Beasties. I'll have a look at them after this. Chuck it in, okay. Um, it makes me think of the spiders in The Hobbit, where there's like loads of them and they're talking amongst themselves and whatnot, and there's just webs everywhere. That, yeah, like that they need a big space. It's a big old tank for them. Do they grow like normal tarantula size, or are they small because they're communal? Because quite often you'll find that insects, and especially invertebrates that live in communal colonies, tend to be a smaller size than if they would be on their own. They will fight for territory if small, and if not enough food, they will eat each other. Oh, very cool. I You tend to find that a lot in nature. If it's survival of the fittest at the end of the day, and that's why nature is what it is. It's brutal. Okay, normal size. See, I like that, but yeah, like I say, that's I can imagine it being quite intimidating. Are they? I'm guessing they're ground dwellers and not arboreals, because the arboreals would be like the ones in the Hobbit, obviously, where you get like loads hanging out in a tree. But still, I don't want to come across a pack of tarantulas anywhere. What do you call loads of tarantulas? A collective of tarantulas? Because that's quite a weird one. Tarantulae or tarantulas, or I'm sure there's probably a proper name for it. Like they web like oh wow, that's very cool. So just everywhere. See, my dives are just like I don't know. How good's the stream quality at the moment? Can you actually see ants? Would it be worth me showing you the nest? I don't know. Um, Tarantula times one, tarantulas multiple. You have thank you. That's helpful. Very helpful. Um, tarantulas are good weather too. See, I just don't know. GBB tarantulas. What are GBB tarantulas? I literally haven't a clue. You're talking like a foreign language. It's funny how terminology gets so um, specific. You know, like you'd think that between inverts and invertebrates and things like that, like it would almost become the same, but no, not even close. Green. Sorry, I'll just at the exact point I put some pate in my mouth. Green, blue bottle tarantulas. Okay, okay. Let's have a look. Green, blue bottle tarantula. Oh wow, that is cool. Look at that. It got a big yellow butt, and yeah, that's very cool. I like things like that, but the missus doesn't like it so much. But then we did turn her to like the tarantula. She just doesn't want it getting out. So Evie, my youngest daughter, came in not long before the stream started, and I said, "Evie, where's the spider?" And she looked around, and she doesn't normally pay much attention. Bear in mind, she can kind of she goes. There's that like you ask where the ants are, she'll point to her tank and walk off. But she looked around, and she found the tarantula, and she pointed, And then she was really having a good look at it as well, which is really nice to see. And then she looked at the giant cave roaches and the beetles, isopods, and she was really into it actually, which was nice because she's never been like that interested in it before. You can show her these things and she just kind of walks off in the other direction, but actually paying attention and like looking at it, you know what I mean? Yeah, really, really cool. It was my first tarantula and the first tarantula I've ever handled. Or orange bitey thing. Okay. I'm guessing they are kind of aggressive. What would you say is the most aggressive tarantula? Like, I know most of them are fairly chilled, but is there any which you would say that is the devil? The minute it sees anything, it eats it. And, I always wanted a giant Goliath bird eating tarantula, but that was just because of what it is. I always wanted that. But I think now, knowing what it is, I obviously I need a lot more experience. Um, but yeah, baboon tarantulas from Africa. Okay, funnel web. Chilobrachys. Brachy? Yeah. Okay. You've all got sort of like a different opinion. I don't know. But so I'm going to assume African tarantulas, much like Australian, are probably the biggest, scariest one. Not probably because of their environment. Australia and Africa tend to get the scarier animals. Um, some South America, yeah, old worlds have attitude. That's it. That is it. Let's say America, they do have obviously really aggressive animals and really, really venomous animals. But I do tend to find that the ones in Africa and Australia, Africa specifically, are hardier. Um, and they're just tougher. They're just out there ready to kick some butt from day one. You know what I mean? Then they just seem a bit tougher. And I think that's obviously the environment that they grow up in and the things that they have to hunt. Now, I was reading a bit about the theory of natural selection and so on and so forth, just because it's always interesting, and there's always some things that you might not have realized about different classifications. Now, in fact, classifications are just absolutely ridiculous at the minute. Some things are inverts and some things aren't inverts and some things which should be inverts aren't inverts and other things, and it's all very, very confusing if you really get into depths of it. And that's sort of what I was looking into, was how confusing it is. Very. So I can't even remember what I was talking about. Old worlds and that's it. But number two are the same. But no, one could be calm. Yeah, I think you've hit on the nail there, antisocial. Every insect, animal, whatever, has its own personality. You know, like not all humans are nice people like me. You get some which are nasty, some that are really aggressive, and you get some that are chilled. So yeah, everything's got its own personality in it. And I suppose it comes down a lot to what's happened during the day. If that tarantula has just been chased out of its home by a snake, or even tripped over and hurt its knee, one of many, it might be having a bad day. And you go to like say hello to it, and you get a bite. Whereas it could wake up and have a nice cup of coffee, or the tarantula equivalent to a cup of coffee. Good evening, Slicey Slicer. Thank you for joining in. Yeah, but you know what I mean? If that tarantula's having a bad day, it might not want interaction. Whereas if it's woken up, it's had a good day, the sun's shining, it's caught itself a little birdie, it could be having a fantastic day. His tarantula best mates just told him some great news or something. They're going to a tarantula music festival, any of these things. But yeah, would be me. I'll go out and try and hold a tarantula. It would be just after so that tarantula's just hit one of his many knees on a table corner or something like that. We've all done it. It annoys the hell out of us and it drives us mad for a day, you know. New worlds can also be nasty. I've plenty chili rose go mental and many I can't pronounce that the same time, and they are beginner SP. See, my tarantula, he's a little canny beaner versicolor, or however you pronounce it. You're going to have a go at me because you know tarantulas better than I do. Um, but yeah, he's so chilled. Now they're new worlds, aren't they? He has got venom, even though it's not very potent yet. Um, they're so beautiful though. Now, are there any like because time I look at a tarantula now, I just find them absolutely beautiful. They've got some awesome colours and stuff. Is there any that are just boring? Have you ever seen a tarantula that's just like, oh well, that's boring? I haven't seen any yet. That's an interesting one. Like, there's there's quite a few. Oh, so we've just hit night time. Let's go. Let's change it to red. There we go. Otherwise, no one can see anything. I hope the reflections aren't too bad there at the moment, but it's better than nothing. Worst case scenario, we'll move to a different enclosure because the other lights stay on for another hour yet. I really need to sort those timers out, but it's really quite complicated to do. And they're like out of the way. I've got to move stuff and get back, and you know, wild caught are the worst. Captive bred are the best. See, now that would make sense because obviously, if you're gonna go and catch a tarantula or something, you're gonna pay it off. It's probably got tarantula buddies, tarantula plans, and you know all these tarantula things that it could be planning for the rest of the day, and you just come and scooped it up. I don't know, but I do think. Owning captive bred is definitely always better and always they haven't got as many sort of parasites and issues that could arise like that, but not just that, it's come from a source. You haven't harmed the environment, taken away a predator, or you haven't taken a part of the environment away. If that's the alpha predator in that environment, you've taken it away. What's to say that something else isn't gonna rise up and start killing off everything else? You know what I mean? It's a very well balanced thing, nature. So I don't always agree with taking things out of nature. Ant queens on nuptial flight day, completely different opinion because there's so many of them and it's such a high mortality rate anyways. I don't think collecting queen ants on nuptial flight day really makes a difference. I don't agree with going and digging them up because again you're affecting that balance in the environment. It's not even the fact that you're harming nature. Yes, that's bad, but you're affecting that balance in the environment and potentially you could unleash a nightmare situation for everything else living in that area. You know, it could it will have a knock-on effect in some way, shape or form that you can't anticipate really. So I always say if I can, I will get captive bred pretty much everything. But I think that like most things these days in the hobby are captive bred. I mean, it's definitely something that I've tried to encourage at the shows as well. And if I do have any wild caught things at my shows for sale, then I want to see paperwork as to where and when it was collected and so on and so forth, and to see if they have actually got licenses to sell those things. Because quite often, if they're wild caught, it's not something that's readily available and easily accessible within the hobby itself already. That's what I'm finding on the shop front and always. So I have actually got this rule in place that if it is wild caught, I want to see paperwork and legitimacy before I allow it being sold at my shows. Like I said, I don't want to be causing damage to the environment, and I don't want to be encouraging people to go out and catch wild animals or insects to gain profit from. Basically, it's not in my remit, we could say. I had almost every pokey in my last collection. What? One of my favourite SPs. What are pokies? You're going to have to explain that one. Currently speaking to a guy though, a full set of juveniles. Oh wow. It just, I know we've just crossed a watershed, guys, but when I ask what is a pokey, you don't need to say I love a good poke. A poke, I can't pronounce that, Dean. I'm guessing it's another beautiful tarantula. I'm going to have to look it up, aren't I? Pokey. It says Pokemon tarantulas. It's not a Pokemon, is it? Ah, dear. Here we go. Here we go. A pokey tarantula. Oh, they're a bit different. The Metallica ones look very cool with their blue. Wow. So what are they, Dean? Are they New World or Old World? Or what's your sort of, hey, Patrick, thanks for signing in, buddy. What are they, Dean? Are they, should I bring up picture? Give me a minute, bring up a picture. Good old Google. Let's have a didgeridoo. Boosh. No, hang on. Boosh. There. So that's what I'm looking at. Old World. Fast and aggressive. I'm doing brilliant, Patrick. And it's nice to see you back. It's been a little while, I think. Fast and aggressive. A great band, but don't be shy. They look really cool. They've got sort of a thinner body than my Visi-Color, I think, or elongated, maybe is the word to say. They're more leggy. Are they? P-Regulus can be. See, I really like the idea of communal tarantulas, but I think my wife would not be happy if I had like a whole big tank full of them. Highly venomous. Oh, yeah, I don't think the wife would be happy about that. Then we do have to be slightly aware of little hands within the house still. I say little hands. Their hands are almost as big as their mums now. Not quite as big as mine. I do have crazy sized hands. I can't remember if I showed you at the show or not, but my hands are ridiculously sized. And the kids seem to be taking after me with their hands and their feet and stuff. In fact, they're all nearly as tall as my wife now. Our eldest will be 10 in like 9 days, and she is nearly as tall as her mother. It's quite amusing. I suppose she'll probably overtake me at some point. I am shrinking in my old age. Metallic spider will Google for you. Mostly arboreal. Female grow big. See, I like the arboreal ones because you have that opportunity to see them a bit more, I think. Whereas the ground dwelling ones, they once they burrow, unless you've got visual access to their burrow, you don't really get to see a lot, I don't think. Whereas with mine, like he's just sat there all the time. He's always on display. I don't know. I might be wrong. I don't have a ground dwelling tarantula, so they might be out and about all the time. I don't know. But from judging by his sort of characteristics, he doesn't tend to go on a massive wander unless he's got something to wander for. If he's hungry or whatever. But he's all right. He's just sat there chilling. Nest anywhere they can. See, I did kind of think like in other countries, obviously they will just nest everywhere and like cracks in the walls and all sorts. I don't know if I could deal with wild tarantulas. Right, the thing about wild, really nice SB, but not for beginners. That's it. Like, I think I need to stick with beginners for a bit longer. just watching the like night action in the tank, and there's just ants absolutely everywhere. It does get rid nighttime as well because like activity gets they get more active when it's dark. And like there's so many other men anyways, it's just ridiculous. So every time the light comes on in the morning, I run over and have a quick look at what state it's been left in. Um, and every time, like I say, I see another layer on the nest front or whatever. It's growing. It's definitely growing fast. Oh well. But we are heading towards the end of the stream now. So if you do have any further comments or questions, feel free to chuck them in now. Get a chili rose, white meat, dwarfed around. Right, I think we're going to have to compile a list of suggested tarantulas and work our way through the list, working out which one to get. You could use it at an educational show you do for kids. They're usually handable. See, now, Dean, that is one of the things that I've been asked a few times. Do I do handling of the tarantulas at the exhibitions and my workshops? I do not. And that is for insurance purposes. If I wanted to do handling of venomous creatures, my insurance would be about 4 times as much as what I currently pay for it. So we do not handle anything that could be potentially venomous in any way, shape, or form at this point at the workshops. We get to handle the other things. We get roaches out, we get beetles out. We even have the occasional millipede come out. But it is not, and Manny, of course, but it is just not something I'm willing to risk. Yes, it definitely. I always take the tarantulas as a display. And everyone loves it. And the fact that he's small at the minute, really go, oh, careful with the tarantula, he's a baby. And they're like, oh, he's so cute. And everyone falls in love with him. So that really helps. And like I said, I love taking him, but I just wouldn't risk someone getting bitten because it only takes someone to be a bit bit of a knob, excuse the language, but we have passed the watershed. And then they'll come after me, and I wouldn't be able to. Well, I'm not going to do my insurance for that much at the moment. It's not worth it for me, if you know what I mean. To allow people to handle a tarantula, it's just not worth the risk or the money implications involved to be insured for it. One day, one day, they're New World, good terrestrial, good eaters. They take a while to shed, though, especially. See, now, how often do I expect to shed? I keep asking this, but I've actually forgot. I think we said between 3 and 4 months. He shed in late August, so a couple more months, I expect. It will be good to see him grow a little bit bigger, but I'm not that bothered. I'm quite happy with him as a little spider. He is eating a fair bit at the moment. He went for a period of weeks where he only ate maybe once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks. Now he's eating every few days when I'm offering it. He is taking it. And in fact, I managed to tweezer feed him for the first time just recently. So that was really cool and super exciting to do. And I'm looking forward to doing that again, actually. Antisocial, I've just seen that comment as well. I've kept my eyes open, but you know when they got their cane and their big fluffy hat and they got hose on either side, I just can't find that pimp ant. But so we always used to say that where I was living before, the whole room lit up red, didn't it? And we were expecting someone to knock on. Where I live now is literally on a really busy road. So everyone that drives past or walks past or whatever just sees red lights. A little bit concerning. We still haven't had anyone knock on, thank God. Okay, they usually go off their feet. Yeah, I did assume that. Much like the praying mantis, he didn't want to eat when he was getting ready to molt, which is fair enough. Crabs, very different. Vampire crabs will eat up until their point. Their shell is literally cracking around them, and then they'll put the food down, pop out of it, and pick the food back up and continue eating. It's quite impressive, actually. Like, they just don't, not phased by it at all, you know what I mean? It takes a little while. It's not like a fast process either, but literally they'll put the food down, go and molt, and come back and continue eating the same piece of waxworm or whatever they were eating, you know. They do love their waxworms, even though they'll eat pretty much anything that's in the pond, algae, leftovers, even the pupa cases they go nuts for, but they do really like a good waxworm, much like our Polyrhacus dives here. Don't offer food for 24 hours after molt. Yeah, I never do, Dean. That's something I learned. Can't remember what I learned that with, but that is something I do know. I actually tend to leave it a little bit longer as well, more towards 48. I don't know why. Like, it just gives them that chance to harden up and everything, doesn't it? You know, it's much like an ant. When they come out all white, they need that 24 hours to 48 hours to harden up before they can really start doing things. Now, I say that there are some ant species which send their workers out even when they're white, including the army ant, which, I don't know, it's just craziness, but that's the way it is. So I am going to start rounding up the stream now. Thank you so much, everyone, for signing in, being absolutely fantastic and having such an amazing conversation with me tonight. It's been really great to see some returning faces as well as some new faces as well. Thank you so much for everyone on YouTube, everyone on Twitch, and everyone on Facebook, everyone listening in the future on Anchor, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. You're all absolutely fantastic and a massive part of what we're doing here. So, massive thank yous to our sponsors. So I just noticed that yeah, massive thank you to our sponsors, Answer Us and Valhalla Martial Arts. You're both absolutely fantastic for supporting us the way you are. A massive thank you to our Patreon supporters as well. Katrina, Stacey, and Jason, still your ongoing support making a massive difference here in the Ant Corner. But really, you know it. I love you all. You're all absolutely fantastic. You are some of the best people I've ever known, honestly. So, without further ado, I am going to call it a night now. You know where I am if you need me. I'll be back here in a few days as well, and we have some awesome videos coming out for you just this week. So keep your eyes peeled. But as always, for me, I'll see you again soon, Ant fans. Good night.